October 22nd, 2025. This public hearing is convened under Section 464 of the Local Government Act to consider the Village of Poughkeepsie Official Community Plan Bylaw 1053, 2025. The purpose of this hearing is to provide all persons who believe their interests and properties are affected by the proposed bylaw or opportunity to be heard. When speaking, please begin by stating your name and your address for the record. If you're not comfortable giving your physical address, just say whether or not that you live in Poughkeepsie. And please limit your remarks to matters contained within the bylaw. Each speaker will have up to 5 minutes, and the speakers list is available, and you may add your name to it any time. Where's the speakers list?
Forgive me, it's in my office. I'll be back.
Hang on. Hold your breath. 20 bucks says you can't find it. You could just do the good old scrap piece of paper, you know what I mean? Like, just go through. He probably has a beautiful one with letterhead and all the fancy things.
Yeah.
I have a mini pad that works out well. I also have a pen that sometimes works and sometimes doesn't work. Okay.
There we go.
You were panicking, right? All right, Mr. Melkinson has our speakers list. If you would like to speak regarding the OCP, he will just raise your hand and he can come over to you and you can add your name to it. Just a note for members of council, you may ask questions for clarification, but tonight's purpose is to listen to the public, and council is not going to be debating or discussing the bylaw during this hearing at this time. We're just looking for public comment and just to sort of get a feel of any concerns from the community. After the hearing is closed, council cannot receive any information or submissions on the bylaw. If council wishes to consider new information or make any substantive changes, the bylaw must be returned to the second reading before proceeding. Otherwise, council's next step will be considered third reading and adoption. This is therefore the public's opportunity to share input for council's consideration before those next steps. I'll now ask the corporate officer to read a brief description of the bylaw for the public.
Thank you, Your Worship. The purpose of the Village of Poughkeepsie Official Community Plan Bylaw 1053-2025 is to repeal the existing Official Community Plan Bylaw and replace it with a new Official Community Plan for the village. Every parcel of land within the Village of Poughkeepsie is affected by this bylaw, and this is a conclusion of a long-standing engagement over the last couple of years, and the impetus for the review of the bylaw relates to the relative age and planning best practices and incorporating amendments pursuant to Bill 44, which was enacted by the province a couple of years back.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a description, Your Worship. Copy of the notice of the public hearing was issued on October 6th to basically today. Copies of the bylaw were made available over the front counter here via our social media and also on our website. We did not receive any written comments, submitted prior to the public hearing, but looks like we've got some interested folks that want to share their thoughts. So, thank you, Your Worship.
Wonderful, thank you. With that in conclusion, I'm going to make the first call. Is there anybody who wishes to speak to this matter? None present? Okay, I'm going to make the second call. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this matter?
Don't be shy. This is a good opportunity.
Well, it's your community, so totally, if you have any concerns.
Can I ask questions that you guys can talk about later?
Ask questions regarding changes to the bylaw that you're hoping to see, or you're just looking for clarification?
Yeah, I'm just looking at the West Pouce Neighborhood Concept Plan, and I'm wondering what the point of keeping that is in the plan. It was developed many years ago, and I'd be curious to know if the landowner knows that you've developed a subdivision plan for his land. And I also know that it's still in the agricultural land reserve. And I wonder what that possibility is of getting that out. And I think that it's an outdated concept and it should come out of the OCP going forward. I think there's other land that could be, you know, there's other landowners that are more interested in than what you're pursuing here.
Okay, and can you just state your name for the record, sorry?
Lisa Grant.
Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so the concern that you're bringing forward, just so I can make sure that everybody is on the same page, is regarding the West Poughkeepsie Development Plan that was created in 2019, and that you're looking to have the plan removed from the OCP because you don't feel it's meeting the needs of the community at this time. Is that, am I understanding? Okay, thank you. I'm just making a note, sorry.
Because I'd be surprised if the landowner even knows about it. And also, it's in the ALR. I don't know what chance you think you could have of getting land out of the ALR right now, but I think it's very slim.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Any other comments? Any other resident would like to make for a second call?
I have another, I have another comment. I'm just having trouble finding it in here. Go ahead, if you want to take his comment while I find it, that'd be great.
Mine is a little bit, I'm Luke, by the way. I was just curious about sizing for, like how are you coming to a conclusion on what percentage of a lot can be used? For, I didn't have time, so I'm not versed in this. Snow is coming, so I'm in a bit of a scramble.
Yeah.
And so I more attended to, I was hoping to hear more info than I had to comment, but I was curious about sizing, you know, percentages on a lot. You know, we're allowed, I think some lots is what, 33% right now, if I remember right, or maybe, yeah, I think 33. Is that changing or staying the same or increasing? Sorry, I
This
did
is
not
an
get to
OCP, not a zoning bylaw.
read up on this.
Is that what you're thinking of a zoning bylaw?
But it does cover some of that, doesn't it? Didn't it cover some of that? I thought I had seen that, or did I read a different?
Like lot coverage?
Like residential?
Because wasn't that changing? Some?
The approach in the, like at a high level, the OCP is a, you know, high level policy document that is required by the Local Government Act, but basically requires council to review zoning bylaw amendments and zoning bylaw generally in the context of. So there might be, I'm trying to recall some high level guidance included in here that might inform future zoning amendments and max parcel coverage that would be included in there. Off the top of my head, I can't recall the you know, particulars.
Okay.
If I'm getting the sense that, you know, you're open to, you know, yeah,
See.
I don't want to leave.
Yeah.
I think I'm getting your sense.
Yeah, so
totally.
with the official community plan, this is sort of one of those guiding documents that sort of guides us when it comes to budgetary and then zoning.
Right.
The zoning bylaw is something that we are also working on at the same time, so they do go hand in hand, but when it really comes to those strict percentages and guidelines, that would be more under our zoning.
It could be that I was on that one more.
No worries. I know that you've spoken to zoning in the past before regarding lot sizes and, and some of the industrial stuff. And that's definitely the zoning part. We haven't completed that yet. We're completing this and then we're going to be finishing our zoning bylaw within the coming time. But these comments are still really handy because as we're working on that bylaw as well, we can take those under consideration. So is there anything particular to the lot sizes that you're looking to see, just so we kind of have that information going forward and we can take the time to investigate it beforehand?
You know, on the residential side, the max square footage that we can get on there is nice. You know, if we could see, sometimes you could see, I mean, Poos has a lot of varying, the bylaws were never a thing until, what, 15 years ago?
I can tell in some places, absolutely.
But I think a little bit more square footage would be nice, but I know that's tough it is tough. And then having flexibility just for some of these R1 zoned areas, there would be nice if we could have R2 zones there. But I just think a little bit more coverage on a lot sometimes would be nice for some people, what we run into. But it's not really a contentious issue for me, it's just something I thought of.
Yes, Councilor Roberts?
My interpretation, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Bill 44 effectively worked to eliminate R1 zoning as low density zoning. Therefore, because of the addition of, the addition over the entire province of secondary suites and accessory dwellings, from my interpretation, R1 zoning effectively in the province of British Columbia is just no longer a thing. That's my understanding for Bill 44, and that's why we had to meet this deadline for December 31st. If I may continue, I think you're referring to page 28-29 in regards to residential. The process that council worked through, and I don't mean to speak for council as a whole, and I'm curious as to how I can speak to this matter at this time.
No, you can speak to you.
As an individual.
I would try to
Refrain from that.
The point is to hear from the public.
Yeah,
So
and then so you get
Okay.
their comment into consideration.
So I may phrase it this way. During the discussions council had, it was working to open up the vision and open up the possibilities that could be contained, encouraging density, encouraging infill. What does the public think about ways and methods that could be utilized to encourage development, to encourage developers to actually build houses, to meet the equation that developers have to develop a parcel, to ensure that they have a return on their investment, that houses are being built. As you'll see in the appendices, there's a map that has all the lots that are actually completely vacant in the village. How do we as a council move forward with attempting to incentivize that development? And is that a zoning issue? Is that a taxation issue? Is that a permeable lot area issue? That's the direction that we're hoping to seek from the public. And that's kind of what I'm interested to hear as well.
Yep.
Thank you. Do you have any comment in return, Luke? Or
I might be interested more in the
zoning.
We can,
part of it, but
through your worship, maybe I'll reach out directly to Mr. Barrett. I think you'd have some good feedback on the ongoing review that we have. And, we've had some staff reviews recently on, that basically are interpreting some of the high-level feedback that we received from council, and expressed by yourself and by council Rattle. So get in touch, basically.
yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Luke. All right, okay, Ms. Grant?
I'd like to just give sort of a general comment about, there's a couple of different places in this document where you talk about agriculture being preserved and expanded and nurtured. And there's 3 agricultural properties in the village. Two of them are in the ALR and one of them is not. And I'm just wondering why would you push to make one of the ALR pieces into residences when they're still in the ALR and you have an agriculture piece that the landowner would develop if you would work with us? And we've had multiple staff people come through in the last 5 years, different councils come through, and everybody has decided that it's just a gray zone. It was literally said to us, it's a gray zone. It's not something that it can't be developed because it's below the sewer system, and we're not interested because we spent a bunch of money developing a plan for the other section. And then, there's a bigger piece of land that was also refused development at a time. So if you're asking about how you get people to develop in this community, you have to let people develop. You can't, when we come and talk to staff and they say, and I'm not saying you because I know your name, you have to give staff direction to work with the people that want to bring money and develop here. You can't just shut people down.
I'm making note. I know that we've spoken on and off over the past couple of years regarding this and had multiple conversations as well. So definitely, like, as you know, Mr. Malkinson is new, and we kind of have had that staff turnover, which is never great, but Mr. Malkinson's killing it, and he's been doing a phenomenal job. And so I would just always stress for residents to reach out to staff, and you know, this council is very interested in development. Some of it does definitely come from issues with previous bylaws, previous zoning, and then or community plans. And so, you know, those are definitely things that we do have interest in reviewing. And so I would just kind of urge you to bring your comments forward to Mr. Malkinson, and maybe he can guide.
Yeah, okay, my husband met with you last weekend.
That's right.
Any other comment?
If I can make one comment on the zoning bylaw too, that leads up to, you have in there at the beginning in the definition part with I forget which one it was exactly, I don't have it in front of me, but there was the ability for there to have a second dwelling in residential zones, commercial zones, and industrial zones, but you excluded agriculture zones, and I'm wondering why.
I can't speak to that one, like, honestly.
It was in the
Yeah.
definition specifically.
Yeah. I can't speak to that one right now, just because I would hate to say something that's incorrect. But what I can do is I can get that information and get it back to you.
Okay, that works. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Okay.
Mayor.
Yes, Councillor Wall.
So, generally, I would like to know, so this OCP that is presented broadly basically makes it easier for us to allow more development to happen, and we're kind of loosening restrictions with this OCP broadly, which will help us in our zoning bylaw make it less restrictive. Is there any of the public that would like to see it become more restrictive? Because this will help us make it less restrictive.
Well, so you might be mixing the zoning bylaw and the OCP. So the OCP doesn't really run on restrictive versus non-restrictive. It's more of like a guiding document where the community went out. We did the big thing at the community center.
Oh, yeah.
They highlighted their interest within the community, and we sort of used it in that instance. Where it comes to restrictive versus non-restrictive, that falls under the zoning bylaw, which we'll be working on, hoping to complete within the coming months once this one is read for the third time and adopted.
Yes, but when we were working on the OCP, it's a guiding document as far as I understand it. Where when we are working on our zoning bylaw, we're going to be referencing our OCP while forming that new document. So it will help us make things less restrictive in the village and allow us to do more things and potentially allow landowners to do more with their parcels. Am I correct on that, Mr. Malkins?
Through your worship, there are several policy statements that are new in this draft of the OCP that, you know, do speak to trying to relax things a little bit. You know, some policy statements, you know, that were pointed out previously about residential infill and, you know, basically making sure that, you know, mixed use is accommodated within some of the residential areas. So there are some policy nods that will be helpful when council reviews zoning going forward that I think there'll be a good relationship basically between OCP and the current notes that have been, you know, given via this zoning review that's ongoing as well. So I think there is a relationship there. Councillor Wall's correct in pointing out, and there are some proposed policy notes in here that speak to the direction that's being expressed this evening.
Okay, perfect. Do you have anything else, Councillor Wall, before I move on?
No, I'm just curious if there's any other comments from the public regarding what they would like to see relaxed or tightened up, if there is any.
Okay. Well, I definitely think we're seeing, yeah, some of those parcel sizes within the zoning, some of that infill, and then stuff regarding the agricultural land throughout the community. All right, well, I'm gonna move to the third call. So the third call, if there's anybody who wishes to speak for the third time. All right, having called, oh, yes, Councillor Rammel?
If I may, to ask of the public. So on page 27, under agricultural, where policy point number 4 says support the future exclusion of West Coast and its developments for residential purposes. But then also previously it discusses number 2, collaboration with the ALC regarding future designated residential, commercial, and industrial development to occur in a gradual and orderly manner. Are there other policy scopes that we should be looking into in regards to the potential development of agricultural lands? Do those policy statements align with what the public hopes for the village?
So you're talking about, let's see, sorry, this document's hard to manage because it's not sticking together.
For 4.1, page 26, 27 under agriculture is what my question refers to, if I may.
Oh, my pages aren't numbered. Well, when you talk about supporting the future exclusion of West Coast, you're talking about exclusion from the ALR, correct?
That would be the understanding because of the original plan that was made by a previous council, or previous council. Anyways, they had created the West Coast development concept, and that's just essentially a plan sitting on a shelf that keeps kind of getting kicked down. That's honestly how it ended up because it was in the previous OCP. But what I'm interested in is are these policy statements in the agricultural section potentially restricting future development, or are there suggested amendments that we would have? Because this would be the opportunity of the public to.
Well, are you talking about preserving agricultural use, or are you talking about expanding residential capacity?
We have an obligation as the village to work with the ALC. The ALC's mandate is to protect agricultural land.
Okay.
There were recent, correct me if I'm wrong, there were recent in the past couple of years, the burden shifted from excluding land from the agricultural land reserve from the property owner to the municipality.
Mm-hmm.
And so now landowners have to work through the municipality to exclude land. That's my interpretation of the new legislation.
Yeah.
Therefore, the municipality is a partner in the exclusion of agricultural land for development purposes. That's what these policy pieces speak to. So it must always be this balance, right? There's only a finite number of usable agricultural land. We still happen to have a piece of that. We're in the heart of a very, productive agricultural region, and so we have to balance development with agricultural preservation. But of course, there are, I'm of the personal opinion that if somebody has a piece of land, if it's in the interest of them with their own private property, anyways. But the question would be, are these policies in the direction that the public would like to see, or are they too restrictive or not collaborative with the landowners, or how should we adjust them?
I think that when you talk about all of this, protect agriculture, heritage, culture, rural use in the area, particularly on lands within the agriculture land reserve, and then you go ahead and develop the West Coast neighborhood plan, you're in direct conflict with your own document, because that piece of land that you develop that on is in the ALR. So which is it? Are you going to do development? Are you going to preserve agricultural land, or are you going to develop residential? And I think me personally, because I own the property beside it, and we are not in the ALR, spend the money and develop our place. Leave that place in the ALR, scrap that plan. If you guys want to put a bunch of money into developing private land, do it with the landowner that wants to do it. Right? How do we get on the list? How do we get on the list so that you guys spend the money to develop our site plan? We're not even in the ALR. You could fast track us.
Well, again, it's not, well, like, with West Pooskippi Development Area, it's Pooskippi, not so much we're developing a subdivision, which in the past that never ever works out in our favor. It's where we're working with private landowners, right? So it's where the private landowner has that want to develop the land, and then working within them, but then also understanding sort of that permitting process, that development process that comes with it, the bylaws that are, of course, within the village of Pooskippi as well. So I totally get what you're saying. I don't want it to be put out there that Pooskippi is doing developing a subdivision, because we're not. Like, we're working by creating these plans. We're sort of giving the idea and the offer of framework of sort of working within private landowners. The municipality will not be.
The village spent hundreds of thousands of dollars developing that plan.
Yes, and that's generally what communities do, right? You know, that's where those plans come in. You're developing plans, and then you're using those plans to then work with private developers to then come in and hopefully take the framework that you've created and then put it in practice. So I totally get what you're saying. I'm just saying, I just don't want to go out to the public scope that we're building a subdivision, because we are not. We've done that in the past and it has not worked out well.
Yeah, so do you think you'll consider pulling that out of this document?
I definitely think that your comments this evening have been heard by council. This is a body of more than just one person, right? And so this is the public's opportunity to voice any concerns or questions, and that any concerns or questions coming from this evening are definitely going to be considered by this council going forward, and that's what this period is for, right? Is for these.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to come and talk.
Yeah, no, thank you, it's wonderful. Luke, you were going to comment as well.
Yeah, my only comment is I don't know your property, so I don't know where you're referencing, but I've worked with the Agricultural Land Commission. I usually hear from them every year, and they're very frustrating to work with. So, working with somebody that is not in the Agricultural Land Commission would make the process much easier. And the other thing I would like to say is to be careful this is more a comment, but just on council's behalf, on who you bring in as an engineer and a developing planner, you know, can change the budget from 10 million to 2 million, so it just has to be, I would think if there was almost, if council could consult with local developers before they pulled the pin on, you know, just decisions that were being made and stuff like that, I think it could come in very handy. Not that who they're consulting is going to be making any decisions, but I think it could be helpful on some things.
Okay, thank you.
But that's all my comments.
You're all dried up now.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Yes.
Alrighty. Yes, Councilor Rebel.
If I may, just one final question. Sorry. In regards, if I may, to the public, in regards to the development of potential properties within the village, are we talking simply one unit of housing, one infill development, or are we talking multiple units of housing requiring streets and additional infrastructure?
Well, we have 23 acres, so what do you want to build on there? We'll build a house and a shop like everybody else. Keep it to ourselves. Or, we're basically your only option. You have our property, the one next to us that you developed the West Poos neighborhood plan on. If that owner was even mildly interested, don't you think he would have come forward by now? And then there's a bigger swath out on the highway.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
All right. Any other comments regarding this evening's OCP to be added to the public record? Okay. All right. So having called 3 times and seeing no further speakers, I further declare that this public hearing is closed. So thank you guys so much for coming out.
Feel free to stay for our public meeting.
No.